Body shot. Ooh, that hurt, didn't it?
When adrenaline starts pumping and you know what you can do with this right hand, it's hard to not do that.
Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Kamaru Usman defends his belt for the 5th time. We're starting to talk history here, folks, and he effectively ends his rivalry with one Colby Covington. The chaos the man brought, it was incredible. They made up after the fight. Colby said he was just selling the fight. No big deal. They just trying to get this money, bro. But hey, man, you play heel for a reason, and you got to live with the consequences that come with it. In other news, Namajunas, she squeaks out a very tight split decision victory against the former strawweight champion, Zhang Weili. It was very contested. We got a lot to talk about. Trust me, folks, we're going to talk about this one here in 1 second. Glory Kickboxing's only 2-division champion, Alex Pereira, wins his UFC debut in style against Andreas. Should Israel Adesanya have something to worry about? Is the middleweight champion sweating a little bit? I joked about it on the preview show, but we're going to talk about it here today on the post show. And folks, finally, you know I love to say it, Bobby King Green, a man who has gone to 10 straight decisions, becomes the first man to knock out Raging Al Iaquinta, the Raging Realtor, man. History in the making. It was incredible fight, incredible night of fights, excuse me, folks. My name is Derick G. I am your host, and checking in with me, as always, is my co-host, the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe bomber himself, AJ, brother. I'm still coming down from that Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler banger to open up the main card, but give me your thoughts on the night, man. Incredible night of fights, am I right?
Incredible night of fights, incredible night of prelims as well. I think they were on like a 6-fight KO streak, something crazy like that. Bro, it was good to see. It was wild. Yeah, there was a lot of highlights, a lot of crazy things. Our sleepers both popped off. Yeah. It was a great night to see. Derek, how you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm doing good. My picks wasn't doing too good, you know what I'm saying? I guess both of us, we tied on the week, 3-2, 3-2. We both did it in different ways, though, man. We didn't have the same picks, and we still ended up 3-2. So it's interesting when you see that. But I agree with you, man. Those prelims were incredible. I had to work through a couple of them, man, but I was able to tune in right there at the Edmund Shabazian, Nasruddin Imavov, you know, that Ian Gary right there for my sleeper. You know, I was able to tune in around that point, and you are right, brother. We went, I'm going to say it from the prelims, unanimous decision, TKO round 2, spinning wheel kick or spinning heel kick, right? KO round 3, counter right. TKO round 2, crucifix, ground and pound. TKO round 1, left hook. TKO round 1, punches. TKO round 2, flying knee. Like, we went on a absolute tear right there in the prelims. Slowed down a little bit for the main card, but I think that was just them giving our money's worth right there, right? They said we didn't want to end the night too early, my man. A lot of big stuff that happened here on the card, though. So let's talk about this one really quickly, AJ, before we jump into anything, man. Just give me your take on what I said about Bobby Green, man. He is the spokesperson for our sleepers here on this program, and the man put to sleep, a man who has never been slept before, a man who hasn't even been finished since 2014 in Al Iaquinta. It was a long layoff. It's always troubling to see these long layoffs, man. What'd you think of that performance?
Whew, bro, Bobby Green, I don't want to ruin too much, man, but Bobby Green has been doing it, bro. It was crazy to see, and what I liked best about him is what he always has to say. You know, Bobby Green, he's even before the pandemic started, he was taking the mic over and letting people know, being inspiring, being that personality that we like to see. Now he gets to do it with a KO in front of it. Yeah, man, Bobby Green is an absolute animal, and one of the crispest 1-2 combos we've seen in quite a while. You want to talk about nice boxing down the pipe? Yeah, go check out that Bobby Green knockout. You need a perfect combo like that to knock out somebody like Al Iaquinta, because that dude has an absolute granite chin. The only way you get it done is stuff him and then come down the pipe with the rocket.
Absolutely, man. Bobby Green, the king of having the hands low and putting you to sleep, my friend. So, hey, keep sleeping on him, but he'll wake you up, brother. You know what time it is, my man. Folks, just want to give you the heads up, as always, to drop a like, to subscribe. I feel like you guys have been listening to our pleas lately, because I think we jumped 10 subscribers since the last episode. We are now officially at 244. Let's make it one more. Get it to 245. Why not 250? Why not 300? What are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? But we always appreciate it. As always, hit us up on Instagram at Bloody Water Podcast, on Twitter at Bloody Water Pod. Hit up the website, www.bloodywaterpodcast.com. But most importantly, just slide over to the YouTube. That's where all the good stuff is at. Short clips, full-on interviews. You know, we got the whole entire episodes, the post show, the preview show. Subscribe. You know what time it is. Enough of the infomercials. I say it every time, AJ. Let's talk a little bit of a ranking review, brother. I think it's only right that we get into it, you know? All right, my man. Let me start pulling these things up here. All right, brother. So we have one interesting ranking dispute here today, this weekend. Now, don't get me wrong. There were a lot of ranked fighters on this card. Now, let me just count off the top of my head. I believe we had 2, 4, 6, like 7 ranked fighters, right? So there's a lot of places we could have gone. But I wanted to talk about one individual specifically, a man who we've talked about, who's had the ups and the downs. He's finally put together a 2-fight win streak. He's been alternating wins. And that man's name is Chito Vera, brother. We need to talk about it. This bantamweight division is arguably, and I want to say arguably because the lightweight division was very, very hot for a very long time. But bantamweight division is arguably one of the hottest divisions in the UFC right now, with the best competition 1 through 30. Not even 15, but through 30. Like, if you go out of that top 15, you still have a murderer's row. And as it stands right now, Marlon Vera came into the Frankie Edgar fight ranked number 13. Frankie Edgar was ranked number 8, so effectively, logically, he should take the man's 8. But the question becomes this, man, in our own personalized rankings, where exactly does Marlon Vera go? If he goes into the top 10, that means Marlon Vera must effectively fight top 10 fighters from here on out. That means the bar has been raised, and that means you got to keep the streak going. You cannot keep alternating these wins or you end up right back out of the top 10. So my question to you is, in terms of rankings, you have him ranked number 13 in your rankings. I have him ranked number 14. How high do you see the man going, and do you trust and believe that he will be able to stick around in this top 10 fighting these legit killers, these top 10 monsters right here? What do you think, brother?
Trust and believe that he's going to continue this winning ways is a hard one because, like you said, Derick, that's an absolute murder's row up there. I'm looking at my rankings right now, and I have Frankie Edgar at number 7, and I do think that Marlon Vera has the skill and the capacity to be in that top 10 consistently. It's just not dropping fights like he did to Jose Aldo, to the other of the greats that are up there, right in that upper echelon of the bantamweight division. It's hard to say because he does. I feel like with what he has, the techniques, the skills, all the mindset, especially, he was talking about on his post-fight interview with Joe Rogan, he's got that immigrant mentality, which is a good way to go when you're fighting. You're getting scrappy in there. But he's throwing away rounds. He's throwing away that round 1. He's a slow starter. He's kind of, lets the fight get started and then he gets started after. It's hard to do that when you got people like Merab Dvalishvili or like Rob Font, Corey Sandhagen, these dudes that are absolute cardio machines, TJ Dillashaw, these dudes that are absolute cardio machines that if you throw away that one round, well, they're still there for 2 and 3. They're not giving up. They're not getting tired. The holes in their game are not slipping. Personally, I do think I'm going to put him up pretty high, right around that 7 or 8 mark. We'll see exactly where he lies. I do think that he can get it done. It's just the consistency of it we'll see coming forward. Where are you going to be putting him, Derick?
Well, I effectively have to take him at number 8. I have to give up Frankie Edgar's spot. That's the lay of the land. That's how we do these things here. But it does worry me a little bit because I feel like in his next fight, I could bump him right back out depending on who he's matched up with. If you look at, and this is a little preview to the matchmaking we'll do later, but if you look at the top 10 in the bantamweight division, really the top 8, they're pretty much all booked up except for just a few names. So it's going to be difficult. However, the reason why I ponder and I stress over this, AJ, is because if you look at the people that you're putting him in front of, you have to really ask, is he better than these fighters, right? So let me ask you, even though Cody Garbrandt has a fight lined up with Kai Kara-France at 125 pounds, is Marlon Vera better than Cody Garbrandt right now in terms of ranking?
In my optically, I don't think so. I think Cody Garbrandt has done so much that he's still ahead of the pack on that, even though he's dropped a couple back and forth. But that being said, Marlon Vera has a stronger chance of getting it done than he did in the past. So that's close, but I still do think Cody Garbrandt's better.
Would you rank him in front of Dominic Cruz?
Yes, and that's just strictly because Dominic Cruz of yesteryear is not the Dominic Cruz we have today. True. But yeah, I'd put Marlon Vera in front of that for sure.
What about Marlon Moraes?
Yes, and same reason, just because Marlon Moraes has just his last couple of fights haven't been as spectacular. He's kind of got a couple knockouts, but again, still very close.
Okay, I agree with you on all of those. The last one here is going to be very disputed because arguably the man never lost. Would you rank him in front? And I know it's jokes here because MMA logic is one thing, right? But would you rank him in front of Sean O'Malley? And the reason why I ask this is because I think we can argue here, AJ, very effectively that Sean O'Malley is probably should be ranked. Like, he should be a top 10 level fighter. That's the level of fighter that he has. However, he hasn't shown it against top 10 fighters, so it's hard to rank him there. But if you just look at the man fight, you're like, this dude is levels above these other guys. So even though Vera, he hit him with a knee, you know, whatever the case may be, right? 13-0, undefeated, whatever. But Chito Vera, he got the dub, and a dub is a dub is a dub. We say it all the time. Is he ranked in front of Sean O'Malley in terms, not just number-wise, but in terms of you think this is a better fighter? What do you think?
Skill-wise, no, man. I still think Sean O'Malley is the best, one of the best fighters in the bantamweight division. Definitely top 5 in like my mental capacity. But a win is a win is a win, man. That record's hard to say. You know, you can talk all the smack until somebody says scoreboard, and then you're like, yeah, you beat my ass. All right, word, cool. But skill-wise going forward, I do think that Sean O'Malley is better. It's just proving it, stepping up his competition or stepping up his fight game to his competition is the next thing we need to see Sean O'Malley do. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I agree with you, man. You got to put Chito Vera in front, even though skill-wise, that's not exactly what I am seeing there in the cage. I mean, Marlon Vera, look at the beautiful front kick that he hit on Frankie Edgar. Like, it was fantastic. Technique was beautiful on point. He channeled his inner Anderson Silva. But at the end of the day, there's strikers and then there's strikers. You feel me? But then again, this is MMA and you got to be the total package. So looks like Marlon Chito Vera, excuse me, folks, will be ending somewhere around the 7-8 spot for us here in our own personal rankings. Probably take that 8 spot in the UFC's consensus rankings. But either way, this is a new name in the top 10, and you have to think beating the former lightweight champion who defended the belt 3 times has to put some real clout on your name to give you an opportunity to maybe get into that maybe number 5 spot queued up to fight for the title, man. So interesting, but that's why we do the 60-second rankings review, folks. It's because we need to be able to justify and line these things up, try to understand and conceptualize where we're going here, man. But all right, AJ, let's move on to a little bit of recap, brother. Before we get into any of the good stuff, before we get into the fight of the night, there's a couple other prelim matchups that I just wanted to talk about very quickly, my man. So your sleeper, John Vellante versus Chris Barnett, my man, that turned out to be a banger. It was a little slow at times, right, as heavyweight fights tend to be, but Huggy Bear, Beast Boy, whatever you want to call him, man. Chris Barnett, the Taekwondo legend, let it out. He let it out on John Vellante. And AJ, I told you, well, this is kind of the narrative that we talked about going into the fight. We said for Vellante, it's probably not the best idea to stand and trade with this man, especially in your retirement fight. You don't want to get knocked out in your last fight, but then again, you don't want to leave any what ifs. You didn't want to leave anything in the cage. Well, he left it on the cage, and he got a heel freshly to his dome that put him out. He was in good spirits after, so it was incredible. But one of the most athletic moves by a big man I've ever seen in my life, and Chris Barnett right there. And number 2, man, it's like the prophecy was fulfilled. Give me your take on the fight, brother.
Bro, it was wild, man. Yeah, I had John Vellante winning that fight right off, you know, from the beginning, right until he ate that heel to the face. But it's crazy to see a man who's, I forgot his exact weight, 260 plus, whatever it was, with the flexibility, because he's a shorter man, man. Chris Barnett was a shorter man. The flexibility to get his leg up over his own head and hit a guy whose head's taller than his, man, crazy back and forth. It was really fun to watch. Good to see that Vellante was you know, at least not sleeping on the canvas. He was in good spirits. They had the little shout out after. Barnett said they're rocking together from, you know, now till whenever. So they might be training together. We don't know, man. That'd be good to see for Barnett in the future. But definitely a good presence of mind and a good, like, outlook for Barnett coming forward, man. I think he has a lot of future in this division, and the style that he was, you know, throwing his strikes in, he's going to be a crowd pleaser coming forward. What was your take on the fight, Derick?
Well, number 1 take was the man is an absolute crowd pleaser. Like, this dude in another life could be like a rock star or something, bro. Like, the energy he has. You see after the spinning heel kick KO, right? He hits him with the joint. He hits him with the pop lock, right? He does a front flip onto his ass as a big man like that. And we'll talk about that in the photo collection here in a second. But it was just a beautiful performance, man. He moved to 1-1 in the UFC. Listen, man, this dude is a monster. He's been getting it done in the regional scene for many, you know, a year now, right? Years, I guess I should say. But welcome to the UFC, pal, man. That was a huge win against a legend who really made his mark in light heavyweight division, but heavyweight nonetheless, you know what I mean? Big win. AJ, I need to ask you a question here. What is the future with the golden boy, Edmen Shahbazyan? He just got steamrolled by Nasruddin Imavov, which honestly wasn't the biggest surprise, right? So, like, in my picks for prelims, right, I'm going about it. I'm like, Shahbazyan, Imavov. Well, Imavov's going to grapple him. He's a grappler. That's what he does. He's going to get him to the ground. But Shahbazyan, he has to have learned, right? He has to have learned from his Kevin Holland-esque mistakes, you know what I mean? And getting taken down and getting smashed by Derek Brunson. And, rinse, wash, repeat, right? But that's exactly what happened here again. Imavov smashed him, got him in the crucifix. It was an ugly scene, man. It was a very, very ugly scene. And at the end of the day, Shabazian just lost his number to Nasruddin Imavov. So something critical mode needs to happen. We need to fix the game plan. Go to Dagestan for a while. Go to Hendrickstan, wherever you need to go. But Edmund Shabazian was this next coming of Ronda Rousey. In a weird way, that was his narrative, right? He was the student, or like he grew up, kind of training and watching Ronda Rousey, and now he's in the show. And look, he's going to be this killer now. And he's absolutely a killer on the feet. But it's MMA, like I just said. So where do we go with Edmund Shabazian here, man? What is the game plan? Are you worried about the future of this once very bright prospect or a contender, not even prospect, but contender? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm definitely worried, my man. He's dropped 3 of his last fights. Like it's hard when you get on that losing streak. I forget his streak coming in. He was on a winning streak. I don't remember if it was like 3, 4, 5 or whatever. Do you have the?
I thought it was like let me see, because Shabazian is 11-2, so it was like an 8 or 9 or 10 in a row. You feel me?
Yeah, it was a ridiculous streak coming into the UFC and then just started dropping one after another after another. It's going to be hard to place him against, like you said, you would hope he would learn his lesson and go to those wrestling academies, go get some work in, think like, oh, okay, I know where my holes in my game are. Everybody knows where the holes in my game are. I need to go and attack this specifically because I'm fine with these hands. But once the fight gets to somewhere else, it's, another story. I don't think the UFC pairs him with another grappler right off the jump. I think they let him get his confidence back, send him up with a striker, let him have a kickboxing match, and then, then roll him out to the rest of the division. At least that's what I would do, just to, have some weight behind him and have some momentum going back and forth. Because the worst thing is you get a cash cow you think you're gonna do, it ends up being a dud, and you're just like, you got another fighter that you got to cut, and you got to keep replacing. It's hard to do. What do you think? Where do you take Edmund Shabazian?
Well, first, I'm very concerned because the last thing you want is him getting cut and then going to a Bellator or PFL and turning it up and resurging his career, right? Like a Corey Anderson, for an example. But I think that the UFC machine was behind the man so heavily. I mean, on one hand, you got to think they're going to keep staying behind him. They're going to want to keep pushing him up there so he can get back up to the ranking, so he can fulfill that destiny that they had, the fate that they had for him as a prospect. But at the end of the day, man, when it's this definitive, but then again, he's going against high-level grapplers. But when it's this definitive, time and time and time again, where it's like there's nothing he can do, it's just very, very worrisome. So I feel like he shouldn't take a fight in a while, and he should literally just work on all grappling. Leave the striking alone. We know you can strike. We know you're a killer there. Just work nonstop grappling. Maybe work some grappling tournaments. But the last thing he needs right now is to take another fight on short notice, another fight quickly, rinse, wash, repeat. Again, you're cut. There's no excuse at that point, right? So it does worry me, but at the same time, the man is very, very young. He's only look at that 13, 14 fights into his career, man. Come on, the man has a future ahead of him. We just hope that it is a bright one over here on this program. AJ, give me a quick synopsis of this very quick fight. Alex Pereira, flying knee, round 2, Andreas Michailidis. Michailidis had a little bit of success getting him to the ground, but Paeda is just a beast in there. He's a huge man. Like, he looked huge in the kickboxing ring, but in the UFC cage, he looked even huger. Like, he looked like an enormous monster. He could flying knee up there, man. Every punch that he lands hurts. Give me your take, man. Should Izzy be sweating?
I mean, it is, like you said a little bit ago, Derick, it is the complete game. So I don't necessarily know if Izzy should be sweating as much, because he always has that wrestling acumen. He can, or I guess a little bit more of time of the wrestling acumen than Paeda has had. So it'll be interesting to see, though. I mean, when a guy's got your number, and it's hard to say. So Paeda, though, looked great, man. He looked really, really good out there. He did have a little trouble on the ground. Going forward, I think everybody can kind of see that's where the hole is in his game. You got to take this dude down. You got to control him. Let that long, lanky, all those muscles and all that striking be able to be nullified on the ground when he's on his back. But you let this dude stand and trade. It looks like he can stand and trade with the best of them, Dan. And I think I was mentioning it to you, Derick. I was like, he's that tall. He literally looks like another weight class above these guys. And he's got bounce to where he can hit you from 5 feet away with a flying knee. Yeah, this striker is absolutely dangerous. There is a very, very promising road to the championship coming up for Alex Pereira, and it's going to be fun to watch, man, especially if you're a fan of the striking. What do you think?
I'll just tell you this much, man. He gives me let me say this, his success so far in his UFC debut, right? Clearly, he's the only two-time or two-division champion in Glory kickboxing history, but his success in his UFC debut against a Michaelitis, it was a tough outing, man. He's not like a scrub, right? Don't get me wrong. I think that we're going to see this man. This is my prediction. This is just what I saw. I was like, okay, he's going to go on a 10-fight win streak in the UFC. He's just going to be starching everybody. He's going to line himself up straight to fight Izzy, and then it's going to be the narrative that everyone's been asking for. But this is the icing on top. They say once Jan Blachowicz is gone, Izzy might just go and try to challenge for that light heavyweight belt again. Not with Paeda in the middleweight division, man. He's going to sit there and he's going to lock down this middleweight division and say, no. Not going to happen. Not on my watch. Or we're going to see Izzy take the light heavyweight belt once upon a time when it happens, and Paeda take the middleweight belt, and then they're going to have to fight middleweight versus light heavyweight, grudge match, the trilogy, right? This is a very bold prediction, folks. Don't get me wrong. But like in my head, I was like, this is Hollywood movie script written all over it. So that's my prediction for that one. Any, chance that happens, AJ, or am I a little too far-fetched here?
No, I mean, I like it. I like the narrative. I can see people being a little brash on Izzy if he does leave the middleweight division, because they're like, oh, you're scared of this dude? You're scared of this? You're supposed to be the king. And then that, really lights the fire. Although I could also see Izzy just running it down, saying, yo, let me fight this dude before he gets a little heat behind him. Let me put this dude to sleep. So I don't know, man. You know what would be smart, brother, right there? He takes the Mayweather approach, like Mayweather did to Canelo, and he says, I fight him before he gets good enough to beat me. You know what I'm saying? So then I always got the dub. What can you say? So Mayweather can always say, oh, that Canelo dude, I whooped his ass, bro. I schooled him. He couldn't even hit me, right? But that's not the Canelo of today, right? So interesting stuff on the prelims. I think we spent a little bit too much time on this, man. So let's move on to some photo recap, brother. You know what I'm saying? And we'll start off with a classic picture right here, man. Look at Frankie Edgar's face. You got literally foot to the chin. His toes is touching bro's lips, my man. Like, that is disrespectful. That is amazing. It's beautiful technique. And I've never seen a man's face morph like that. He looks like something out of a cartoon or something right there. But at the end of the day, that photo led to Chito Vera hitting the, oh yeah, you know what I'm saying, with the walk-off on him, hands up, my man. You know he was feeling himself. You know he probably thought the fight was going to a decision. He said it in the post-fight. He was like, I was a little down on myself because I let him, kind of grapple me for that first round. But he turned it around, man. And that's the difference right there. This is Chito Vera's 10th KO of his career, my man. Like, he's putting it on. He's trying to finish fights. Beautiful photo. What do you think of it? Ooh, really good photo, man. This is one of those ones with the chain link fence. It looks like stars are in the air. Yeah. I like this one a lot, man. If you're a Vera fan, you got to be hanging this one up. And to go back to the picture in the front, look at that technique that he showed, man. When they teach you in karate or they teach you in kicking, if you're going to be hitting somebody, you got to hit them with the ball of your foot. That is exactly what Chito did. You're not breaking any toes right there. You're just breaking somebody's teeth. And yeah, that's a damn good photo. Both of those actually for Chito Vera going forward, man. Good fight.
If you're Frankie Edgar, man, and you just took back-to-back KOs like that, but this one is even more embarrassing, arguably, because you got Anderson Silva on one hand, and on the other hand, like I said, toes to the lips. I don't know. We'll move on, my man. We'll move on. AJ, this was funny because I haven't mentioned it yet, folks, but I'm sure all of our true combat sports folks who watch more things than just mixed martial arts, you witnessed Canelo Alvarez put it on Caleb Plant. 11th round TKO. It was a very contested matchup, right? Closer than a lot of people may have thought, but Canelo reigned supreme at the end of the day, and I just thought this was funny. Uncle Dana, at his own show, he got the Canelo fight on right in front of him, and I love that because that's, if I was a what would you call Dana? A promoter, a commissioner, or he's the UFC president. If I was in his shoes, I would do the same exact thing, and I would have no shame about it. You know what I mean? I'd be like, yeah, man, I got my Canelo fight on right here. I might even have Bellator here on the other side, man. Let me keep an eye on my competitors, you feel me? But give me your thoughts on that one, my man. Do you think Dana White should get any flack for this, or do you think that that's just what a real combat sports junkie does?
No, I think that is the way to go, man. You gotta be eyes on everything. You gotta be watching what's going on, because if you're not, you're left behind in the scene. Yeah. And he said it himself. He's like, yeah, I watched the fight. I watched it right there live whenever my fight was going on. And I think he said he had $100,000 bet on the thing. So you put some money down on that fight. You got to watch it. Although he said a little I guess risky-ish comment. They asked him if he paid for it, and he kind of gave him like yeah.
Nah, fucking Dana with the streamers, bro. Who knew it? He was a double agent the whole time, bro. What do we? Come on, man. That's actually hilarious because, in all honesty, man, is anyone? I mean, listen. I'm going to say without saying here, but there are probably very few people who are going to tune into these Canelo fights knowing he's very Mike Tyson-esque these days. You're just watching a one-sided beatdown for the most part, you know what I mean? This one was more competitive, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, Uncle Dana over there with the streamers and the fucking pirates and all that, my man, we're going to have to get on your ass, bro. UFC, we're going to have to catch this man. No, I'm just joking, bro. All right, AJ. This is a beautiful photo right here, man. This is Bobby King Green, lit up, ready to go. He hit him with the whole Bobby Green would be a great WWE character. I truly believe that. But while he's whooping ass in real life, Iaquinta, man, you've never seen the man look like that. He's over there looking like, goddamn, did this really happen? Bobby Green's lit up, ready to go. What do you think of the photo?
Ooh, flexing on him, hitting him with the woo. Like, bro, this dude, yeah, that is a great photo from Bobby Green and an even better fight going forward, man. That was very impressive. Nobody's done that to Iaquinta. Even Habib, I forget who the other one that had a great fight with Iaquinta is at the top of my head. But yeah, man, nobody does that. And to come off of a 10-fight unanimous decision or decision streak that Bobby Green had to come back with a KO like that, yeah, man, great to see.
It goes to show that he hasn't always had that, miraculous power, but that accuracy in boxing. Always been slick, man. Always been slick. All right, AJ. This is what we were talking about from the Imavov Shabazian fight. The crucifix, the bloodied up face. It just doesn't look good, man, And you got to imagine, AJ. I'll tell you, being a man who is much better of a grappler, being on top of you, just in jiu-jitsu alone sucks because they could submit you, they could control you, they can put their weight on you. In an MMA fight, it's 10 million times worse because they're smashing elbows into your face, because they're punching you, because they're doing all types of nasty things, despicable things to you. How do you think Edmund Shabazian is feeling right here?
Man, that's so, he has to be in the worst place he's ever been right there. Not only just eating elbows, a dude's on top of you, like that all is a recipe for disaster, but he's even trying to hit Buck. He's trying his hardest. You can see it. He's trying everything he knows how to do to get this dude off of him, and his hips are heavy. He's staying on, and just worst place to be. If you're ever in the gym and you feel like the bench press is too heavy and it's kind of crushing your chest, yeah, imagine this dude now. The bench press is throwing elbows at your head. Yeah, that's a horrible place to be.
I wouldn't want to fight that bench press, man. All right, AJ. This is what I was talking about earlier, man. Huggy Bear. You never see a man that big just get up in the air like that, bro. Hitting backflips, hitting the whole nine, man. Beautiful thing to see. I don't really have a comment for that. I just wanted to put that out there for the people, man. That's just watch the man be a high flyer, brother. And then lastly, AJ, last photo collection, it was just that impeccable knee. This photo right here shows Alex Paeda's frame. Like, look how big the man is. Like, he's all legs and he's all muscle. And that's what's scary about the man, is that he hits like a fucking freight train. So that knee, picture perfect. He's hit that knee a million times in kickboxing. It's just scary. Why would you ever want to kickbox with the man? And clearly Michailidis, that wasn't his idea. He wanted to get the fight back to the ground, but easier said than done. Give me your take on the photo.
Right before this photo was taken, how he set it up, man, he jumped with a fake right knee and then smashed that left one down the pipe. And you can see Michailidis' hands like reaching out like, oh no, I saw that first knee coming. Yeah. It's the second one that you didn't see that put you right out. And man, yeah, this dude is literally about a head and a half above Michailidis, man. That's some serious bounce. Crazy,
man. It reminds me of the Julian Erosa flying knee knockout on Nate Landwehr, right? Where he just got the ups on him. And Erosa's a big, tall, lanky dude too, man. So that's enough of the photo collection, AJ. Before we get into the actual main card recap, you know what time it is, brother. It's fighter of the night time, my man. Which fighter had the most outstanding performance, the best narrative, the best storyline, all the intangibles intertwined into one to not become the performance of the night, not the fight of the night, but very individualistic and specific to this program right here. Who is your fighter of the night, AJ, for UFC 268, brother?
Man, my fighter of the night, I said it a little earlier. I don't want to give too much away, but now I can, man. I'm going with the king, Bobby Green, bro. Right. This dude, not only with one of the crispest boxing we've seen in quite a long time, first dude to put Iaquinta away like that, but coming off of the decision wins streak that he was having, to come back and say it and then jump on the mic again and let people know you can do anything in the world and literally speak right to the camera. He's like, I'm talking to y'all at home. You looking at this right now, I'm talking to you. Come and get it, bro. You can do anything in the world that you put your mind to. It's exactly what Bobby Green is. I'm here for that message. I love seeing it, man. Bobby Green, and I said it a little bit before, in the beginning of the pandemic, he was talking about, all the mindset, keeping people happy. We got to do what you love. You got to stay positive. Now doing it, staying consistently and continuing to do it, even now when he's on the top winning streak. Bro, Bobby Green is an absolute legend. We feature him all the time here on this show because he's our sleeper voice. And it's the truth, man. You keep sleeping on Bobby Green, you're going to end up like Iaquinta, looking up at the stars like, damn, did I really just get hit with that clean 1-2? Man, it's crazy, bro. Bobby Green, my fighter of the night, he absolutely put it on. And it was good to see, like I said before, one of the crispest 1-2s you'll ever see, coming from down low, hands down low. Who fights like that? Bobby King Green, bro. That's who. Go check it out. Yeah. Who's your fighter of the night, Derick?
I really appreciate that you bigged up our man Bobby King Green right there. And for the first time in the history of this program, which is relatively short and has stringent rule set, we get to break the rules. And I'm going Bobby King Green as well, brother. You know what I'm saying? You got to hold it down for my man. I had the same exact idea and thought process that you did, AJ. I felt that him having the hands low style coming out, what's up? He had the Joker face paint on, coming up to the fight. He was pulling the Iaquinta, throwing the face paint and all that stuff, right? He's goofy, he's flashy, he's talking all this mess right now. He's hitting you like he's like, you know what I'm saying, big upping you on the street or whatnot, but he's just tagging you, da-da-da. And what's beautiful about it, man, is that I feel like Bobby Green has had some of the best boxing that I've already mentioned. There's some of the best boxing in the UFC, some of the best striking, some of the best takedown defense, all of these things kind of intertwined, but he hasn't been able to string together the wins at the highest levels. When he gets the opportunity for that real mark to set that one through, fall short. He had a lot of split decision losses in his last 10 fights or something like that, right? But to be able to get back to the knockout ways, to be able to have success based on your unorthodox style. We talk about it all the time, AJ. When you're a boxer and you're unorthodox and you're fighting a technical boxer, they don't know what to do with you because you're throwing from weird spots. And they mentioned that on the commentary where Bobby Green was having success against Iaquinta because Iaquinta was looking at Bobby Green's head and his eyes as opposed to his chest and his hips, which if you would have looked at the chest and hips, you would have saw the punch come up before you actually got hit with it, but you didn't see it. You're only looking at the eyes. You're just getting hit with shots and shots and shots. And what do you do against a wrestler, AJ? You say, oh, you're going to shoot? I got one for you. It's either going to be a knee. It's going to be a left cross down the pipe. If you're a southpaw like Bobby Green, it doesn't matter what it is because that 1-2 put him out of there. Bobby Green, man, becomes the first man to finish Al Iaquinta since 2014. The last man to finish the Raging Realtor. Let me see. I have it right here. It was Mitch Clark, and he got him in a Darce choke back in 2014, back in the day, my man. So it's been 8 years since then. Bobby Green gets it done. For the first time in the history of this program, once again, folks, we going doubling down. Bobby Green is both of our fighters of the night. So collectively, he is the Bloody Water Podcast fighter of the night for UFC 268, which is very impressive if you come to think about Usman having his huge win, right? Thug Rose getting the big win. Chito Vera, we already mentioned. Shane Burgos getting the big win. Justin Gaethje. All those guys, all killers, but Bobby Green is the fighter of the night. You dig, folks. So if you like this segment, if you like what we're doing over here, drop a like, subscribe, share it with your friends. You know what time it is. But without any further ado, AJ, let's bring it up. Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler. Let's talk about it. This opened up the night. This was incredible, and I got a stat right here for you, brother. 1,973 combined significant strikes landed at UFC 268. Now, this isn't specifically for this matchup. This is overall as an event. But you see the photo that they have up there is Gaethje and Chandler, and they have it for a reason because these dudes were beating the hell out of each other. But then again, AJ, I'm going to pull this down for a second because if I'm not mistaken, this is less of a fight of the night and closer to a Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar one-sided, very fun beatdown. You know what I mean? Michael Chandler got the brakes beat off of him in rounds 2 and round 3. He had some success in round 1, don't get me wrong, but I don't think Justin Gaethje, even had a cut on his face at the end of the fight. Michael Chandler looked like he just went through a war. What do you make of that, my man? How good is Justin Gaethje here?
Well, it's crazy because I thought Michael Chandler was going to be the more technical fighter. I thought that round 1 blitz, we all know Chandler has that round 1 blitz, and he's very, very dangerous in there. But after that round 1, he really starts to peter out, and we saw that exact thing happen in the fight. And I was expecting him to know, okay, all right, this is going to happen. Justin Gaethje's a war of attritionist. He's down for the fight, and staying technical and staying strong is very important against Justin Gaethje, or else he could put your lights out because this dude is a dog. And I was expecting Gaethje to come in and be the wild man that we like to see. but it was absolutely different, man. Justin Gaethje stayed technical. He stayed solid. He stayed with the game plan of Trevor Whitman. It was working. Well, Michael Chandler, this dude's a wild man, bro. He proved that he is down for whatever. I believe one of the quotes he said when he first got to the UFC, I am here for a fun time, not a long time. And he proved exactly that. He doesn't give a shit what happens. He's down for a war, and he's trying to just make, the crowd happy. He's, he was even losing the fight in the third fight, saying like, come on, and then getting tagged up, 4 hits. Oh, shit. Come on. That dude was crazy, bro. It was good to see. And the leg kicks of Justin Gaethje are absolutely tough. Once Chandler gassed, the fight was basically over, except for the fact that this dude is very, very stubborn and hard to put away. What was your takeaways, Derick?
Listen, man, Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler proved their worth to the UFC in this fight alone. But I will say, Justin Gaethje said something, and he says this pretty often, but it resonated with me very heavily, and it reminded me why Justin Gaethje is arguably one of my favorite fighters overall, right? Because it's a mentality thing, too. He's very Goggins-esque, right? He said, in another life, in another time, we wouldn't be here. We'd be fighting to the death, gladiator style in a coliseum, putting on a show for all of the fans, watching right there. That's the type of guy Gaethje is, where he's like, man, I think he was like, my purpose is to be the most entertaining fighter in the world. Like, that's my purpose, right? So to have a purpose like that, to put on a show like that, to still not be emotionally connected and still stay technical rounds 1 through 3, so impressive, man. It blew me away. It truly did, because Gaethje, you have to look at the man as he has zero fear of the man in front of him. He was standing in the pocket with Michael Chandler when Michael Chandler was throwing bombs, bro. Where Michael Chandler was throwing fight enders, night enders, everything you could think of. But Michael Chandler did the same thing, right? Michael Chandler said, what's up? I saw all that, what's up? That was cool at first, until you started getting the brakes beat off of you. Then I'm like, all right, bro, we got to chill with the what's ups, because I don't want to sit here and downplay anybody. Both of these dudes had an incredible performance, man. If they weren't fighting each other, these are arguably, like, Michael Chandler has solidified himself as a top 5 fighter in the lightweight division, no question asked. But I felt that Michael Chandler, and I want you to respond to this, AJ. I was talking to you about it in Slack a little bit, where Michael Chandler says, all right, I know I'm going to lose the fight. I know that my title shot's slipping away again. I need to stay relevant. I need to stay popular. I need to make sure the fans still love me after the loss. So I'm going to turn this into I'm going to fight the ego of Justin Gaethje. Come on, bro. That was nothing. That's all you got. His calf was decimated, but he's like, what's up? Calf kick? Okay. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that this went to unanimous decision, the fact that he was such a crowd pleaser, the fact that he left the cage and said, are you not entertained? He pulled, what movie is that from, AJ? Do you know? Gladiator?
Gladiator.
Yeah, there we go. He pulled that. I think that he wins in the eyes of the fans, even though he got the loss. But do you agree with me? So respond, please, to that notion. Do you think that he was just having too much fun in there? Or do you think he strategically said, I know I'm going to lose the fight. I got to stay popular. What do you think?
I think it was a strategic game plan, man. I think, obviously he wants to win, but he's in the eyes of the whole how the fight's going. When you're getting whooped on, yeah. And if you don't, that's for your coaches to tell you, hey, you're getting whooped on, bro. We got to do something different. But you can see Michael Chandler; he's very cerebral. He was thinking it through. He saw what was going on and was able to keep the crowd entertained, and that's almost more important. Well, the most important thing is getting the dub, but it's almost most important to keep the fans happy, because they're the ones keeping the paycheck coming. They're the ones that are going to make, have Uncle Dana put you on the card, because he says every time this guy fights, the fans show up early. So it is very important to keep the fans happy. And I think it was a cerebral move. I think it was a game plan that Michael Chandler had, where he knew, all right, I'm losing this fight. Time to actually get some fans going. And Justin Gaethje is your favorite fighter's favorite fighter. That's like every fighter out there that's in the UFC, they say their favorite fighter is Justin Gaethje, because this dude is absolutely entertaining. And to go to war with him like that, I think some of that title has been transferred over to Michael Chandler, because this dude has proved his worth. And I'm happy that he came from Bellator and is now in the UFC getting these dog fights, and we're able to see that happen in his prime. Well, in the prime era, not necessarily his exact prime, but in the prime era that Michael Chandler has.
No, I agree with you, man. And it's incredible, right? Because if he would have stayed in Bellator, he never would have been able to showcase just how good of a fighter he truly is, man, because it's not the same level of competition. My last question for you on this one, man, and I don't want to make any accusations here, but I feel like Justin Gaethje let Michael Chandler off the hook in the second round. He had him hurt, had him battered, had a front choke on him, and did nothing with it. He just hung out and chilled and caught his breath for a little bit. He had a Darce, he had an Anaconda. He could have just gone for a guillotine. Justin Gaethje can submit you. It just decided that it felt like he just didn't want to. And he was like, we're going to stand back up and I'm going to knock you the fuck out. It felt like that was his game plan. Do you think that was the case? And do you think that Justin Gaethje won or lost in the eyes of the fans by extending the fight as opposed to potentially finishing it in the second round?
I think it was part of the game plan because you're right. There was like 4 or 5 different instances in which he had the choke locked up, and then he's like, I'm just gonna sprawl these hips. I'm gonna put my weight on him. I'm gonna let this dude catch his breath so that we can stand up and bang again. And I think it was more so a decision that we're gonna get this fight of the night. We're gonna get this paycheck coming. We're gonna work together. We're gonna be a team on this one. We're gonna get some fans going. I feel bad for Shane Burgos and Bobby Q because their fight could have been fight of the night, except for the fact that we had Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler right before. And I think it was really a mental decision by Justin Gaethje to be like, yeah, you know what? I could end this fight right now by submission, but this dude isn't hurting me. His punches in the first, I was getting tagged up pretty clean. But the second, they have a little bit of less power. I could probably take a couple more. Why not? Let's stand and bang. And then that's when he decided, all right, let's stand up.
Yep. So ultimately, they won fight of the night, man. So that's an extra $50K on both ends. They're happy about that. Justin Gaethje, man. We'll talk about it in the matchmaking, but title shot's next. He says if there's no title shot next, we riot. So look, I'm with you. We're rioting, brother. Come on, let's do it. You dig? But huge win by Justin Gaethje, man. He moves to 6-3 in the UFC, and believe it or not, this is only his 3rd decision win of his entire career, which is why it was also surprising because there's a lot of people who bet anytime KO for Justin Gaethje, but. That's all right, man. Let's move on to the next one. This one right here, banging featherweight matchup. Like you said earlier, AJ, if Gaethje versus Chandler didn't open up the night, people would have been going crazy. However, the fans were like silent the whole fight. They're still coming down from that Gaethje-Chandler matchup, man. But this was a banger right here. Non-stop pace. Shane Burgos, he gets the dub over Billy Q, but he shows how much of a dog he is. And he shows Edson Barbosa, it doesn't matter. Delayed TKO, it doesn't matter. That neurological, systems working, the chin is still holding up, my man. And he could take a damn shot, but he can give one too. And I guess Billy Q didn't learn from the fight that happened right prior because when Gaethje chewed up Chandler's leg, well, that's what Burgos exactly did to Billy Q. But then again, he revealed at the end that was actually the game plan. He says, I fought a little too emotionally in the first. I tried to get into these war. I was supposed to just sit there, chew up the calf from the very jump, immobilize my opponent, and then pick him apart. And that's what he did. And come round 3, my man, it was looking a little bit ugly. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, AJ. I had a photo here. I guess I didn't bring it up. But basically, this is Burgos, hands up, hyped up at the end of the fight, and Billy Q, hands on his hips, just looking at him like, damn. And I knew at that moment, Burgos won the fight. You know what I mean? At the end, when you're just hands on your hips, like, you knew. You're showing the judges you lost the fight. So, what'd you think, my man? Valiant effort by our boy Billy Q, man. But Shane Burgos is a man not to be messed with. Am I correct?
Yeah, man. Valiant effort. Billy Quarantillo is very, very relentless. Dude, this dude is down, bro. The war of attrition gas tank, all the, buzzwords that we like to say, man. Billy Q is a fan favorite fighter, man. This dude is crazy. But, dude, the leg kicks of Burgos, the hands, they're so crisp. This dude has a lot of potential going forward, and I just have him running away with it at the end of the fight, doing more damage. Sure, it might have been him a little bit on the back foot, but that's just because Billy Q is just absolutely a machine going forward. I have Quarantillo winning the speed and the accuracy of it. But the power that Burgos had, man, it was just something levels above of what he was able to do. And every shot that he would land on Quarantillo, it would make him look like, oh, yep, yeah, the damage was there. And I think that adds to the aspect of that mental drain that we saw at Quarantillo at the end, where his hands are on his hips. He thought, like, man, this dude really hurt me. Like, this dude put it on me. And it was a very fun fight to see, very back and forth in the first, with Burgos running away from it a little in the end. Great to see, especially for the division coming up, man. They're going to be a long time battle. We might even see number 2 coming up here in a few months, maybe even a year. What do you think?
No, absolutely. I'm glad that you brought that up, my man, because I thought that there was no loser in this fight. I thought that Billy Q, in the eyes of the commentary, in the eyes of Dana White, in the eyes of the fans, in the eyes of the judges, I think everybody knew Billy Q is no joke, my man. And that performance against a top 15 fighter goes to show he could hang with some of the best in the world. So that was the question I wanted to ask you, though, is if this fight happened 10 times, how many times does Burgos win out of 10?
Probably say 6 or 7. Okay. I do think he's probably not necessarily the better fighter, But the better fighter doesn't always win. That's the thing. You know, the better fighter doesn't always win. And when you're willing to walk forward after just getting clacked on consistently, you end up losing those fights more often than not. And I think that's what's going to happen with Billy Q unless he's able to change some stuff up and have a little bit more slick head movement and just checking some calf kicks, man. Check those damn calf kicks, folks. You ever been hit with one of those? You know how bad it hurts, man. Check those motherfuckers, because when somebody it does, if you ever check shins, you know, you ever clash shins with somebody, you know how bad it hurts as well. They stop throwing those calf kicks as well.
Oh, man. Yeah. And I can't say from experience that I know what these calf kicks feel like, but I mentioned this anecdote from one of my jiu-jitsu classes recently where we were drilling this kind of like foot sweep, right? And you're supposed to just take the bottom of the foot, sweep out the heel, except in a real life situation, you're not always going to use the bottom of your foot. You're going to use the side of it, kind of the ankle, and you're going to kick. You're going to do like a side kick to get the foot, you know what I mean, to knock it off balance. And me and my partner were doing that, and I'll just say this, man, had trouble walking for a few days after. And that wasn't a dedicated calf kick. That was just like a little happened to hit the calf, you feel me? So I couldn't imagine what these dudes are going through. It's absolutely painful. And I was just surprised to see Billy Q was not interested in checking any kicks. So in an alternate universe, AJ, where Billy Q he decided, I'm checking kicks, I'm getting out of the way, even though that's going to be hard to be a pressure fighter and get out of the calf kicks. It's like how Gaethje was just like, he wasn't all the way in and all the way out. He was in that middle ground. In that reality, you still think 6 out of 10 times probably Burgos gets the job done?
Probably. Yeah. And that's hard to say because I'm a big Billy Q fan as well. I just think Shane Burgos gets it done, man.
I don't know. I hear you, man. It's hard to argue with the performance that he put up. Like Shane Burgos goes to show that, listen, man, minus 200, absolutely. What's surprising to me about this matchup, AJ, is that Shane Burgos, this is his first win since 2019. It doesn't feel that way. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like he's had much more success recently, and his last one was over Makwan Amirkhani. So that's not too high, you know what I'm saying? But this win over Billy Q, I mean, we love to see it. You know, his last loss was against Edson Barbosa, and then he had one more prior to that. I don't remember who he was fighting specifically, but he moves to 7-3 in the UFC, and Shane Burgos, he might jump up a couple spots, even though he fought a non-ranked opponent. We'll see what happens. Big win in the featherweight division, my man. All right, AJ, we've been talking about this man ad nauseum, but we're going to bring him up again. Chito Vera, Frankie Edgar, but this is the photo right here, my man. Is this surprising to you at all? Most wins in UFC bantamweight history. Marlon Vera at number 10. He got the 5th most wins in bantamweight history, not just active history, right? Dillashaw with 13, Aljo Sterling with 11, Rafael Assunção with 11, Uriah Faber with 11. So a couple more wins, man. He surpasses the California kid, Uriah Faber. Marlon Vera, this is a dude who came from the Latin UFC, the Ultimate. Oh, you good, brother?
Yeah.
Listen, this is a dude who came from the Latin Ultimate Fighter, right? Didn't have a lot of steam on his name. Right now, he is 12-6 in the UFC, so he hasn't had an unblemished career. And it feels like out of nowhere, the man comes up and it's like, okay, top 5, most wins, bantamweight history. It's a beautiful thing to see, my man. We've been talking about the man ad nauseum, like I said before, but the question right here, my man, is do you expect to start seeing? Or I'll actually ask you these questions, AJ. I'm gonna go one by one, just real quick. Tell me what you think about this. Do you think, if matched up, Chito Vera could beat a Pedro Munoz?
Ooh, no. I'm gonna go with no on that one. Okay. I think Pedro Munoz gets it done on that.
Do you think he could beat a Cody Garbrandt?
That's a little closer of a fight. I'm gonna say yes.
Do you think he can beat a Rafael Assunção?
I think yes. I think yes for sure on that one.
Do you think right now, and I'm going to do a little preview, AJ, because you know what's coming later, he could beat the machine, Merab Dvalishvili?
I don't know. That's what I'm thinking as well, man, because you throw away one round on the machine and he's able to keep going. Yep. It's basically he's running away with that lead. I don't know. That's the one I'm interested in.
And the last one here, do you think he could get a win over TJ Dillashaw?
Not right now. Not with the movement and the pace that Dillashaw puts on and how weird his striking is and how precise and accurate and powerful he is. I don't see Vera landing the shots he did on like Frankie Edgar or anyone else, man.
Okay. Well, with that being said right there, then that goes to show that Chito Vera is in a very interesting spot in the bantamweight division, as we discussed on the 60-second rankings review. But nonetheless, my man, let's talk about it. Top 10 knockouts of the year, top 5 knockouts of the year. front up kick. I mean, that was picture perfect. It was right there on the nose. It was on literally right now on the jaw, but you know what I mean? It was on the button right there. Frankie Edgar went to sleep. First, this is a two-part question. First question is this a top 5 knockout of the year? Second question is, if you're Frankie Edgar, after getting highlight reel KO'd in back-to-back fights, he says he has no intention of hanging him up. Do you have to start thinking, all right, man, we might have to start hanging him up. This used to never happen to me in this fashion. And back-to-back, that's nasty. What do you think?
Yeah, I think top 5. To answer your first one, Derick, I do think top 5 knockouts of the year, maybe top 10. It's the memory isn't the best all the time on exactly which knockouts, but he was definitely one of the star-studded ones. It's hard to say though if it's top 5 exactly. But for Frankie Edgar, it's hard because he was the 155-pound champ, and then now you drop down 2 different divisions to be in the bantamweight. It's interesting to see that you think you'd have more success as you went down, kind of like Jose Aldo did, but you're actually having less, and people are starting to catch up to you. And the older you get, the speed starts to go. The power will always be there, but Frankie Edgar has never been really a power kind of guy. He does have power, don't get me wrong. He is able to knock people out, but he's usually more of a technician. He's usually more the guy that's going to piece you up a few 4 or 5 times, keep things moving, and not being able to be hit. Whereas now he's being able to be caught, man. He's slowing down a little bit. The rest of the competition is catching up to him. Personally, for Frankie Edgar, I think that his mindset is really nice. The way he goes about things, he's always training. He's consistently doing it. It's going to be hard for him to mentally be one of those gatekeepers. We think of Frankie Edgar, we think of one of the top dogs. We think of this guy. Previous to these 2 knockouts that we've had, we were talking about him fighting for the championship. He fought, I forget who it was for the championship. It was Frankie, if it was Jose Aldo or whoever it was. And then, he started suffering some losses and really started, once he's catching these KOs, the rest of the divisions is really catching up to him. So it's interesting to see where he's going to go, because I don't want to see him as that gatekeeper, as that person we're seeing, the Andre Arlovskis or any other of these gatekeepers that we consistently talk about, because in these lighter divisions, it does not end well. In the heavyweight, they can do that. The fights aren't as fast. They can keep things going. Whereas these younger guys, man, they're just so quick, so fast. And when you have devastating knockouts like that, how many years are they taking off of your life? That's what you really got to worry about, because your family's who you got to support. So if it's me, if I'm working with Frankie Edgar, I'm telling him, we got at most 5. If things start really getting worse, you start really catching these KOs, man, you got to put your eggs in some other baskets and start working towards your future and not necessarily towards the present. What do you think, Derick?
I'm with you, man. Let's not forget that Frankie Edgar, he won the UFC lightweight championship against BJ Penn back in 2010, dog. I was a freshman in high school. Gosh. And yeah, he got another win over BJ Penn, draw against Gray Maynard, beat Gray Maynard, loses the belt to Benson Henderson in 2012. Let me see. It looks like then he goes to he fights for the featherweight championship against Jose Aldo in 2013, loses that. Moves on. Ultimately, he ends up getting the strap later on. The point is, man's been doing this for a really long time, my man. So everything that you said, I agree with it, man. This is a dude who star-studded. You know what I mean? He's a legend of the game. But Father Time is undefeated. The man's 40 years old, bro. That's the other part, right? I get it. Glover Teixeira, I get it. You know what I mean? Jan Blachowicz, resurgencies, I get it. But at the end of the day, man, you got to know when to call it quits. And the last thing we want to see is our favorite fighters like our Chuck Liddells, our Tito Ortizes, all these guys keep on fighting. And, you don't quite got it. And don't get me wrong, he looked great in this performance until he got knocked out. But that's the story. It's like we all look good until you don't look good, and that's just how it ends. So, huge win by Chito Vera, my man. We already talked about him in length about where he should be going in this division, but I mean, we'll just say right here, big win. That's it. All right, AJ, this is the co-main event right here. And still, right, Namajunas, she gets the dub. Halle Berry is putting the belt on her for whatever reason. I know Halle Berry got the MMA movie coming out soon, which, you know what, AJ, I got a little bit of flack that I need to put on this one. Word on the street is that she actually, I think it was Miesha Tate, or it was one other fighter who resembles Miesha Tate. Kat Zingano. It was Kat Zingano. That's who it was. I guess Kat Zingano was helping out Halle Berry or whatever. It was supposed to be part of this movie. So she actually turned down a fight so she could participate in the movie. And then Halle Berry's like, no, we don't need you anymore. Or, the crew or whatever was like, we don't need you anymore. And she was like, all right, well, now I got to sue you because I just lost out on all this money because I was supposed to do this, X, Y, and Z. So, the shadiness in the entertainment industry that goes on. But nonetheless, Halle Berry is here. question before we get into this. Did you appreciate her presence in the ceremonial weigh-ins or putting the belt on Rose? Did you think it would, like, did it even matter to you? Did it even register? Or what was your take on Halle Berry?
Didn't even matter to me, Derick, to be completely honest with you. I saw her in the ceremonial weigh-ins and I was like, who's that? Like, who's this girl doing this? Like, why is she here? Why like, I literally didn't know, and I don't watch too much TV. I don't watch too many movies. So, I just, Halle Berry fell off the map for me. I didn't even know she was still around doing stuff. So I guess it's cool to see. It's nice that she's pulling in, or the UFC's pulling in that other extra, like, audience that would like, oh yeah, Halle Berry, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Like, I'm sure there's girls out there that are like, oh my gosh, she's in, watching the UFC. So that's cool to get some extra eyes in. But honestly, man, I didn't even notice it was her.
Yeah, I agree with you. It brings in a little something for the casual fans. But listen, man, Rose, and still, we get to say it. You predicted it right, brother. So that's where we got the mismatch, right? I picked Gaethje, you picked Chandler, so I got Gaethje on that one. I picked Weili, you picked Namajunas, and you got that one right. Contrary to when I picked Rose the first time around. But hey, man, it was 5 rounds. We saw what these two can do in 25 minutes, and Rose ended up being the better fighter over the course of 25 minutes. Now the scorecards is the question here, because this ended up in a split decision, AJ. Oh, let me put that back up. This ended in a split decision. 48-47 for Rose Namajunas, 48-47 for Zhang Weili, 49-46 for Rose Namajunas. In what world do we see this? I don't know, because I was telling you this when the mics were still cold, AJ, that I gave rounds 1 and 2 definitively for Zhang Weili. And you knew it was definitive when Pat Barry is screaming at Rose like, hey, all that negative shit in your head, get it out of here. Trevor Whitman is like, all right, bro, you're having fun, right? All that good stuff, but clearly there was concern in the corner. Round 3, toss up. Zhang Weili, she gets a late takedown at the end, very similar to what Rose did to her. Apparently it didn't get credited, you know what I mean, in terms of, like, effectiveness for winning the round. Rounds 4 and 5, not even a question, Rose Namajunas. So, robbery? Absolutely not. Very close fight? Yes. 49-46? Absolutely the fuck not. The referee who put that one there, you did a disservice to us. Rose Namajunas squeaked out a win because of you. Zhang Weili, I feel like she was very, very much robbed with that decision, that specific one. We should have got somebody who was a little more competent, so then we at least could have got a fair 48-47 times 2 for Rose, 48-47 for Weili. Do you agree, AJ?
Yeah, I agree 100%. And when the mics were so cold that we were talking about, I was like, I don't remember if it was second or third, but even in my notes right here, I have Rose getting hurt and coming back to steal round 2 with the takedown. Zhang Weili still in round 3 with the takedown, and they don't get credited. We even saw the verdict scorecards. It was very much so 1 and 2 and 3, all of this for them. 1 and 2 definitively for Zhang Weili. The 4 and 5 definitively for Rose, and then that third is where you can get it. But I have Zhang Weili still in the third, man. Yeah. I thought she won that third. I gave the second to Rose. I know on the broadcast they were saying that the second is the mix them up for at least them as well. But I had it 2 and 2 going into the fifth, man, and 49-40, whatever the other math is. that's absolutely horrible, judging by the not referees, by the judges out there. It's sad to see, because I guess either way it is a loss for Zhang Weili. Yeah. But the fact that you're saying that Thug Rose won 4 rounds, like where? Like what? Where? Like I don't see it. It's crazy.
And that's, to me, I'm like, okay, home country advantage. This was in New York, Madison Square Garden. You got a Chinese fighter coming to America, all that, even though she trained in America. Nonetheless, I just felt like this still left it undefinitive. You know what I mean? This still was like, were all our questions answered right here? Because I'm not going to lie to you too, AJ. And here, let me just talk about this verdict before I pull it down. So it does look like it's 47.9 to 47.07 in favor of Rose Namajunas. But what really did it was that round 5 where Rose just got the early takedown and laid on her for a round. Did she do much with the takedown? Absolutely not, which is what's crazy, because this is scored so definitively 10 to 8.91 in favor of Rose Namajunas. So once again, we come back to the age-old, timeless question of, is a takedown without ground and pound and effective striking worth really that much? Because I don't think it does, personally. And but then again, you got to beat the champion to be the champion, and Weili, she just left it a little bit too close. But ultimately here, AJ, is this the Weili that you thought was going to show up against Rose Namajunas? This was the typical Rose that we saw, the great footwork, great movement, great striking. I'm glad she used some of her grappling here because I knew she'd be a problem with the jiu-jitsu. But Weili looked timid to me. She looked a little like she was relying too much on those calf kicks. Like she didn't want to trade because she felt the power of Namajunas and she was scared of getting knocked out again. That was my impression because when you watch all of the other Weili fights, she's an animal. She's the one on the front foot. She's pressuring. She's doing all that. It felt like Rose had her respect from the very start on this one. Give me your take.
Yeah, I had the exact same thing, man. I thought Zhang Weili looked a little, not necessarily scared, but timid. She knew what could happen if she rushes in, where her normal style is just being the bully, being on the front foot, walking girls down and beating them up. And it was weird to see that not necessarily be part of the game plan. I mean, it was there. She was in that middle zone, that no man's land of like, okay, I'm good enough. I'm close enough to where I can just tag you enough with the shots on the hands. I can get those calf kicks going, but not enough to where you can land your power shot back on me because I just don't want to be there. But that means I can't land my power shot on you either. It was interesting to see. I was glad to see that Zhang Weili came in and started using the ground game, man. She put that Henry Cejudo camp to work and was doing really, really well on the ground. I was surprised to see it not happen a little bit more in the later rounds or even getting the reversals, getting the sweeps going, because she just kind of accepted that bottom position for round 5 for the majority of it. And I mean, yeah, the hips work and the hips were moving. You know, she was trying to go for, a triangle choke. She was hitting with the up kicks. But Rose is just too smart and knows that if she just jumps down, goes down in, you can't catch me with the heel on the head. You can catch me with your calf. You can catch me with your quad, your hamstring. It doesn't hurt as bad. I can just keep going. I can keep this position rocking. So it was interesting to see how different Zhang Weili approached this fight, man, because it wasn't what I was expecting, at least for the stand-up portion. I was expecting her to come in and wrestle a little bit since she was at that Henry Cejudo camp, but the aggression and the dominance that we've come to be aware of Zhang Weili wasn't there, which surprised me a little bit. Derick, what do you think?
I agree with a lot of what you said, man. And, I just felt like the grappling was on point by Rose. It showed how physically strong Weili was in some of those transitions, because there was one point where Weili, she had the body lock on Rose, and you have to be really, really strong for somebody to be able to roll you. And you flip it and you basically stay with them the whole time and you still end up on the back, right? So I was like, she's so strong. That's incredible. But at the end of the night, Namajunas, I think she had a higher IQ in the grappling, where she was able to make some things happen, to reverse position, to get back on top, grab the back, whatever the case may be. Does it make sense now, AJ, when I was saying that Weili needed to use the clinch? She needed to make things ugly and dirty because she's stronger and she could have more success. It looked like Rose was starting to wilt from that pressure like that, right? Did that make sense right there?
Oh, yeah. If that would have been the case, it would have been a whole nother fight, man, because Zhang Weili definitely had the power, definitely had that pressure style. And if she was able to put Rose against the fence, it could have been a whole nother thing. But Rose, especially in those first couple rounds, we saw Pat Barry. I like the juxtaposition that Pat Barry and Trevor Whitman were taking. Like, Pat was just like, we need to get this. And then Trevor Whitman, the ultimate coach, comes in. He's like, you're having fun, right? Word. Cool, man. You doing good. Like, I loved that. It was probably the best thing that Rose could have had going. But if Zhang Weili would have actually put a little bit more pressure, would have been a little bit more of the bully that we used to seeing her be, it could have been a whole nother fight.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But at the end of the day here, AJ, I guess before I say this, last thing I wanted to point out, it did look like Weili was getting a little tired early, right? I think it was the second round where Pat Barry was screaming, she's already tired. And I was like, oh, no, it might be the adrenaline dump. You never know what it is, but that's neither here nor there. Shout out to Thug Rose, and still, she got the job done. A win is a win is a win. I wanted to say this, my man. Namajunas, it looks like she is actually, it feels kind of like it sucks in a way, because this is how her title path has gone, but she's basically repeated where she was at after the first title defense against Joanna Jędrzejczyk, right? Because she won against Joanna, she had to defend against Joanna, then she lost against Andrade, right? So she wins against Weili, she defends against Weili. We'll see who's next. That's the big question. Most likely Carla Esparza. We'll talk about that in the matchmaking in just one moment. But the point is, do you have confidence here? The last question before we move on to the main event. Do you have confidence that Rose Namajunas will differentiate the way that her first title run went and will actually stack together another title defense? This is her second title defense in her entire tenure. She's had 4 fights with the belt, or for the belt, I guess you could say. So what do you think?
Not the most confident. I feel like the more fights Rose has, the more people are catching up to her, and it's hard. It's hard being the champ. It's hard being on top, where everybody has that target on your back. But at least Rose, from what I'm seeing, she's very much a cyclical fighter, like in the means of that she has her method, she has her things that she's going through, and unless Trevor Whitman can really change that mental aspect that she has, I see some people catching up to her, and we'll see where the matchmaking lies, but not the most confident, at least. What about you?
I'm pretty confident because it looks like she's able to adjust effectively. In 5th round of this fight showed that she knows how to fight as a champion. She did what a champion does, and she won the round. She needed the round, and she won the round definitively, not even close. So I'm like, okay, you are a true champion. But we'll see what happens. Carla Esparza gets on top of her, man. Let's not forget, she choked her out round 3, rear naked choke back in the day. So we'll see what happens, But shout out to Thug Rose. Big win. All right, AJ, last one we got right here. Kamaru Usman, he ends the rivalry with Colby Covington, my man. They embrace at the end and whatnot. And listen, man, this is one of the pound-for-pound best to do it right now. In the welterweight division, it's going to be very difficult to defeat this man, to dethrone this man. Colby Covington, arguably the biggest challenge in his title run twice now. And it looked like, AJ, this is what was the most surprising. I thought Colby was done after round 2. He was wilting. He got dropped. Usman almost had him out. He's on the bench, or not on the bench, on the stool in his corner, looking hella deflated, man. Comes out, starts whooping that ass, man. Comes out with a vengeance, like, all right, fuck all of it. Like, basically, fuck all of this. I'm ready. I'm putting it all out there. I can't go out like this. What did you make of this performance? Usman moves to 15-0 in the UFC. This is his 5th UFC title defense. And this one ended less definitively than the first one did. He TKO'd Colby the first time, UD this time. What'd you make of this one?
Yeah, it was, I thought, Colby was hurting Usman a lot more than I was expecting. I was honestly expecting Kamaru to really be on a whole nother level where it looked like Colby was the one who stepped it up, man. Seeing Colby actually go in there, somewhat lose the persona, kind of lost a little bit of that energy I think he had, where I think that mental game, that mental warfare really, really fuels Colby. And it was kind of, you saw him kind of wilt and not really be as impressive as it was, man. But he was stinging Kamaru, man. Colby was getting those shots in where Usman just had the output. Didn't look like he had the power. Didn't look like necessarily besides that one time where he almost dropped or he almost finished Colby, it really looked a little bit more back and forth than I was expecting, man. Colby really stepped it up. Very impressive for him. But again, very impressive win for Kamaru as well. Interesting to see how they were able to change things up going forward. I was expecting something totally different from Kamaru, but Colby really got it done, man. Great fight. Interesting to see. I had it scored 4-1 for Usman because I thought he was just putting out more pressure, more pace, and things were going. But like I said, Colby had that sting going. It was interesting. And then it was always nice to see the embrace at the end. A little behind the scenes, a little bit of the, hey, man, it's just money. We're just trying to make money, which, at the end of the day, that is, you're just trying to sell some fights here. So, it's cool to see. But I think Colby needs to not let that veil off. He needs to continuously, if you're gonna play the heel always. Like Uncle Chael, always being the bad guy. Yeah. But good fight either way. What do you think?
I thought that one question that was answered here is just how good is Kamaru Usman's wrestling? And I think we found out, my man. There was one point where Colby had Kamaru, and Kamaru was this close to being taken down for the first time in his career. Hit him with a chest grab, rolled over, did the whole 9. DC argued. He said, hey, man, knees on the mat. He took the bat. That's 2 points. That's wrestling. This ain't wrestling, this is MMA. So it's a little different game. I get it in terms of technical freestyle wrestling. Did Colby take down Usman? Yes. However, in MMA, it's a little bit of a different rule right there. And Kamaru Usman remains 100% takedown defense right there. But that was the question that was answered. If Colby Covington truly decided to wrestle, what would Usman be able to do? And we saw it, man. Stuff. This dude is too big, too strong. Hips are too fast. Hips are too strong. Colby Covington, in regards to what you were saying, AJ, about always playing the heel, he turned it right back on in the press conference. You know what I mean? I think for just that second, he was all like, all right, brother. Hey, listen, I was just trying to make you some money too, bro. Like, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's all love. And they embraced it, and it was cool. And even the referee, I remember blanking on his name. He was all like, all right, man, y'all could kiss later, man. Go back to your corners, bro. What are you doing here? Let's stop this love fest over here, man. But overall, it was a really fun fight. I thought that Colby showed heart, grit, determination, and those rounds 3, 4, and 5 went from him dropping way back down to the rankings to saying, okay, man, you are clearly and definitively probably like number 3 in the division. You know what I mean? Number 2 or number 3. But at the end of the day, AJ, time waits for no man. And Colby, he's going to have to fight Jorge Masvidal. He's going to have to fight all these dudes who aren't title contenders at the moment right now because you lost the title fight twice, Usman. I mean, and still. He says that Colby Covington is his Joe Frazier to his Muhammad Ali. Like, he's just the better man, but he's the Joe Frazier. He's the guy who has tested and pushed him the furthest. I mean, that's all we can really say about that, right? You know, obviously we'll talk about where Usman is going next, but for Colby Covington, AJ, I wanted your response on that one. I said he's probably like solidly number 3 in the division. What do you think is the cap, the future on Colby Covington? If Usman was not the champion, do you believe Colby has the championship, acumen? Do you think he has what it takes to be the champ?
I do, man, because he's very well-rounded. I mean, I think that was a takedown. Even DC said, I guess they know wrestling better than I do. Yeah, right. I'm taking that one from DC, man. They obviously, if the king of wrestling, the one who's able to make other strikers be good wrestlers, says it's a takedown, it's probably a takedown. But even having the 99% takedown accuracy is absolutely amazing. But Colby was able to get it done, and I think if Kamaru wasn't here fighting, wasn't in the championship, I think it'd be Colby, man. Because who else really is out there that's like definitively, top of the heap? I'm trying to pull it up right now. You got Gilbert Burns. I think Colby beats him. Yeah. It's close. It's a good fight. Not necessarily the best. I think Colby has a better wrestling style. Depends on the feet, how they get it done that way. Leon Edwards, we're going to be seeing coming up. We're going to see how real Leon Edwards actually is. And I think it's that little mix right there that probably other than that, I think Colby's better than Jorge. I think he's better than Steven. Vicente Luque is in the mix. We'll see where that goes. But I do think Colby would be the champion if Kamaru wasn't here. What about you?
Well, I don't know if he would be the champion because I do think there's a big question mark on Vicente Luque, man. I think that man has champion written all over him right there. But I will say, for the time being, with Usman at the helm, it's going to be very tough to get the championship away from that man. Like I said, 5th title defense. And if he strings together a couple more before retirement, my man, and we're all just putting retirement on him. Who knows if he ever actually will in the near future. But if he strings together 3-4 more wins, he's in that GSP conversation. Not like he's surpassed, but he's in the conversation where it's like, okay, brother, you're legit. You're a killer. He's lapping the division at this point. You think about it, in his title run, it's 3 names. It's Colby Covington times 2, Masvidal times 2, and then who's the third one? Gilbert Burns, right?
Gilbert Burns.
It's not the most impressive. Don't get me wrong; these are all killers, but it's not like hit list, right? Neither here nor there. Big win for Kamaru Usman, and still there's just 2 and stills, no and news this time around. Maybe next time, we'll see what happens. All right, AJ, that was the recap, brother. Let's move on to a little bit of matchmaking, my man, and let's knock this one out pretty quickly. Let's start off with the champ, Kamaru Usman, man. There's 2 fights here, right? Leon Edwards, if he beats Jorge Masvidal on December 11th, or Vicente Luque if Leon Edwards loses to Jorge Masvidal. What do you think?
Yeah, that's exactly how I had it too, man. Leon Edwards is definitely the front runner as long as he can get through Masvidal. And if not, Vicente Luque is the only man that Usman hasn't fought yet, at least in the welterweight division. So I think he's number 2 and a very close number 2, especially on how that Masvidal-Edwards fight goes, man.
And if I'm not mistaken, Luque actually weighed in as the backup for this Colby Covington versus Usman rematch. So it goes to show, man, the UFC is like, you right there. They offered it to Leon Edwards, but he's like, nah, I'm going to stay in England so I could train for Masvidal, which maybe shows that he's taking Street Jesus pretty seriously. You never know. All right, Rose Namajunas, my man. She gets the win. I think it's time that the UFC stops disrespecting the Cookie Monster, and she gets to fight Carla Esparza. This is a rematch, the perfect narrative. Esparza defeated Namajunas to become the UFC's first strawweight champion, man, back in December 12th of 2014. This is a 3rd round rear naked choke. So the story is there. The narrative is there. It's arguably a better narrative than the Weili Zhang narrative, or the Zhang Weili, excuse me. What are the odds that Carla Esparza truly gets the next shot? And do you agree with this?
I have her as getting the next shot. That's the one I put. Carla Esparza, she deserves it. She does that stuff. But the odds aren't looking that good because when Uncle Dana was asked, he goes, yeah, it's always a bad call to wait. We'll see what happens to her. So I think he's a little sour. I think the UFC is a little sour that Carla Esparza is putting all her eggs in one basket. We'll see, though, man, because I do think she deserves it. But, you piss off the boss, you probably don't get that shot. So
Listen, man, they say in business, right, you never get what you deserve. You only get what you can negotiate for. So hopefully she has done some good negotiating or she got a good agent or something. Justin Gaethje, man, come on. Where are we going with the man? He gets the dub over Michael Chandler. He gets the winner of Charles Oliveira versus Dustin Poirier, that lightweight title fight. No other matchup really makes sense, my man. Gaethje is proving that he's willing to sit out to get the fight that he wants as well. And he says he wants to fight Oliveira in Brazil if Oliveira wins, or Poirier in Louisiana if Poirier wins. A real fighter's fighter right there. Is this the only one that makes sense, man? Are we rioting if he doesn't get the title fight? What are we talking about?
We're rioting, Derick. We're rioting hardcore. Justin Gaethje absolutely deserves it. And he has Ali Abdelaziz, so he's got a good negotiator as well. So I definitely think he gets the shot next, whether whoever wins. I don't think there's a rematch. Well, maybe. We'll see. There's never guaranteed, but we'll see.
I'm with you. Side note, word on the street. Early word on the street right here. Ali Abdelaziz is rumored to have slapped Dylan Dennis backstage at UFC 268 for whatever confrontation. That is not, I cannot confirm nor deny. That is just the word on the street, people. So I'm just putting it out there. If there's one way to keep yourself relevant, that's just to get choked out by bar security guards, get slapped by UFC managers, not even fighters, but managers. That's one way to keep yourself in the headlines, my man. And I mean, clearly we're talking about it, right? So, all right, my man. Shane Burgos, Hurricane Shane, man. He gets the big dub over number 30 ranked Billy Quarantillo. So he shouldn't get that much of a bump, but I do think he deserves a bump out of respect to the man. And I think, AJ, that he should fight. And listen, this is going to be crazy, and I don't expect you to agree with me or have the same pick. But I think he should fight the winner of number 13th ranked Movsar Evloev, who is 15-0, 15-fight win streak, and Ilia Topuria, 11-0, 11-fight win streak, which will determine who takes the real next step into that top 10, top 15-ish, you know what I mean? Basically, what I'm saying is Shane Burgos, you got a big win over an unranked guy, now you got to fight the guys in front of you. And these dudes, and Topuria, he's unranked too, but come on, man, this dude's a killer. These are two killers, and they're not boxers. These are guys who are going to ragdoll you around the cage all day. You have to have these types of fights. What do you think, and who do you have, AJ?
I like that a lot. I like that idea of, let's see where this next, not next generation, but like up and comers in that title contention or title heat of the top 15 are coming forward. I have Arnold Allen just because he's one of the only 5 through 10 that isn't matched up already. So, and we haven't seen him in, I think it was like 6 months. I looked, I forgot the actual last date he fought. So it'd be good to see. And Arnold Allen can absolutely ragdoll you all day long. It'd be a hard fight for Burgos. Almost too hard of a fight, though. So I do like the idea of giving him the winner of Ilia Topuria or the fight you were just talking about. I think that's a good way. That's a good way to build him up, too, especially in the build up for the fight of like the future of the division. So I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Arnold Allen fight. That'd be a very technical striking contest right there with a little wrestling mixed in. But Movsar Evloev is the beast in the featherweight division that it feels like nobody wants to talk about, man. This dude is an absolute killer. All right, Chito Vera, my man. I previewed it earlier. I think he gets Merab Dvalishvili. I think that's the fight that makes sense. And here's the reason why. Everybody else in the top 8 of the bantamweight division is pretty much already matched up. And unless Chito wants to wait for the division to open up, I don't see why Merab wouldn't be game as long as Sterling keeps the belt. Because if Sterling loses the belt, Merab then enters, I want the title. He says, as long as my buddy Aljamain Sterling has the belts, I want nothing to do with it. But if he doesn't, give me the fucking belt. So this is all dependent on Aljamain Sterling handling his business against Petr Yan, which, I mean, come on. You could see the faces. That says it all. The eyes don't lie, Chico. Come on, you know. But give me your take, my man. Merab, is that the way to go? Where are we going with this one?
I have it as Merab as well, man. I think the machine's a hard night out for anybody, especially if he's going to just stay on top to keep wrestling, to keep that pressure going. Yeah. And if Vera's not able to do anything and starts throwing away rounds, it's going to be a hard fight coming back uphill. I like that fight going forward. I also like Merab in the championship heat. We'll see, but yeah, I have Merab on there.
All right, sounds good. So that's the matchmaking for the main card winners of UFC 268, AJ. But I'm going to throw in a little bit of a curveball really quickly, and I'm going to catch you off guard on this one, my man. My question to you is, in the middleweight division, when exactly do you think Alex Pereira fights a real recognizable name? Now, Michailidis is definitely a recognizable name to us, but my question to you is, after that very successful UFC debut, do you think they're going to be like, all right, we're fast-tracking you, pal, or do you think that they're going to do the slow burn on him? He's such a big name in the combat sports world, it's hard to do the slow burn with him. What do you think?
That's exactly what I'm thinking, man. I think they give him somebody of recognition. Maybe not top 15 right off the jump, but right around there, number 16 through 20, somewhere very, very close that people recognize. High name. I think you have to, because you can't slow burn this dude, because he's already been slow burning in Glory and everything else. So might as well send him to the top. Although you don't want to go too high, because you don't want the flame to die out right away when he just gets beat up on. So I think somewhere around that 15, 20 mark, I think is a good idea for Alex Pereira.
What do you think about this one? This is just spitballing off the top of my head, but this is a dude who lost on the same card, who it was a fluky loss, quote unquote. But Phil Hawes, we didn't talk about him getting chin checked against Chris Curtis, right? Phil Hawes coming off of a loss needs to get back in that kind of lane that where he was at. Then he fights Alex Pereira. Do you think that would be an interesting matchup right there? You got a big Muay Thai striker and wrestler in Hawes versus the kickboxing master in Paeda. What do you think?
I think so, especially because Hawes is a name that a lot of casuals know, a lot of hardcores know, but a lot of casuals know because Phil Hawes was absolutely killing it. And you beat one of the Dawkins boys. You already got respect in my book. Mm-hmm. Now it's time to see if we can get him back on his winning ways after all the fights he's had. I like that idea. I was trying to think of another one that's kind of in that same area. And I like the area that Phil Hawes is in right now too, because he's not necessarily in the rankings. He's not a contender. He's not up there too high, but he is very, very dangerous. So I like that idea.
Absolutely. And I will say, just side note, Chris Curtis, he ended Phil Hawes' 7-fight win streak, my man, with that beautiful left hook, man, right on the button, knee to the body, got him out of there. And this is a guy where Phil Hawes in the pre-fight presser was saying, oh, Chris Curtis is just here for the UFC kit. I'm here for a championship. Gotta eat your words, pal. Gotta eat your words. All right, AJ, let's hit some newswire. Let's hit some newswire, some word on the street, and then get the hell out of here, my man. I mentioned it off air, but Patricky Pitbull, Patricky Freire. Listen, man, he gets the big dub. He gets the lightweight title. It was vacant because his brother, Patricio Pitbull, he vacated it, but he gets the big win against Patrick Queally, knocks the man out just moments after suffering a nasty eye poke. He does it in Dublin, Ireland. I'm pretty positive at Bellator 270, but this is what I wanted to mention. He says that... This is the headline. It says, for Patricky, being Bellator champ doesn't immediately set in. He says, I haven't realized what just happened. So, longtime Bellator contender Patricky finally gets his hand on a title after a decade of competing in the promotion. He scored a second-round TKO over Queally, all that good stuff, man. The Brazilian was happy, but he didn't feel any different as a champion. So this is the key that I want you to respond to. He says, I haven't realized what just happened. I'm very happy, but this is so normal to me because I've seen so many belts in the hands of my brother. I've seen so many belts around me that for me, this is normal. This is normal for me. Maybe after a couple of weeks, it'll settle in. So being that the Pitbull brothers have had such a stranglehold on these championships, you know what I mean, for so long. What do you think, my man? What do you think of this whole sentiment? You know, sometimes they say that this is the ultimate accolade, and you say it all the time, AJ, right? Where you want to aim for your goals to be so high that when you just get them, it's not too early and it's not too just like, oh, all right, well, that's it. You know what I mean? This kind of feels like that's it? Okay, I guess, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, a belt doesn't make you a champion. The mentality makes you a champion. The heart and the will and the determination makes you a champion. What do you think of this?
Yeah, it's interesting to see because you think like blanket statement right here. You think of Bellator, you think about AJ McKee, Michael Venom Page, the Pitbull brothers. It's kind of the casual fans. You think of Bellator, that's what you think of. You don't really have too many people in there that have been a solid staple in the Bellator organization, except for the Pitbull brothers have been running it. Yeah. It's hard though, because in Bellator, you've been doing it. Even he said himself, it kind of, I'm used to this. What's the next step? You go to the UFC. You pull the Michael Chandler route. You go that way. I don't see the Pitbull brothers doing that. I think they stay loyal to the Bellator organization. But it's weird. It's weird that the pinnacle of your sport, the pinnacle of your promotion, the pinnacle of what you've been working towards since, 8 years old, since you've been able to stand up and swing your hands, you're kind of just, all right, cool, word. Maybe it'll set in 3 weeks. Maybe, I'll be eating my breakfast and nothing changes. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird because that's not what you want for goals. And for a lot of people, especially I'll take the boxing route on this one, especially for somebody like Tyson Fury, where he reached that pinnacle and then, he's like, all right, cool. What's next? Like drug addict, drug problem. That's not what we want to see. That's not what we want him to keep going. That's where a lot of depression and anxiety come from. A lot of the majority of people is that, I reached my goals. I reached my, 6-figure job. I reached my family. I reached my kids. what next? I'm only 35. Damn. Like, I got a lot of time left. So, yeah, it's interesting to see where the Pitbull brothers go with this one, especially Patricio coming forward, or Patrici, excuse me. Do you see him in the do you see him going to the UFC or not at all? Do you think he's staying a staple in Bellator?
I think you might as well just cement your legacy in Bellator if you're them, man. Because at this point, you don't need that extra burn, that extra run. I think maybe like Patricio, maybe, right? You know what I mean? Like if he were to somehow, because I think he wants that rematch against AJ McKee, right? But if he loses that and then you out of Bellator, then it's like, all right, might as well just make the run and see what happens. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to do what Michael Chandler almost did, which was, I'll just stay in Bellator. I'm content. I'm fine. I'll be here. I'll make my legacy here, which is cool. You know, it is what it is, man. So I think the big picture here is that you don't find value in material items or accomplishments or goals. You find value in meaning and purpose. And sometimes when you lose your meaning and your purpose, that's when things go to a very dark place, because as humans, as these animals that we are, that's kind of where that's how we're wired. We need that, right? So interesting, but shout out to Patricky, man. Got the dub, man. Pitbull brothers on top still. Roxanne Modafferi, this is the last thing before we get out of here, AJ. Roxanne Modafferi, the Happy Warrior. She announces her retirement fight versus Casey O'Neill will be at UFC 271. Tough fight for a retirement fight for the Happy Warrior, AJ. But I will say this. She's doing it. She's smart about it. Modafferi has 44 pro fights on her official record, but she had another 5 bouts on 2 separate seasons of The Ultimate Fighter, which unofficially puts her at 49. So unofficially, this next fight will be her 50th fight. So she says, I'm picking a number 50. I'm getting out of here. I respect it. I respect because she hasn't been winning too much as of lately, which is neither here nor there, but she's being smart about her career and about her future. I will say, do you think that the women's flyweight, I believe, she's either a flyweight, I think she's a flyweight, right? Yes, we'll just say 125. I think so, because Casey O'Neill 125, she's not a bantamweight. So as a flyweight, do you believe that the division is now going to be missing a huge staple, a huge gatekeeper, somebody who is a big benchmark for a lot of young fighters once Roxanne Modafferi calls it quits?
Very much so. There's going to be a huge hole going forward because there's a lot of people in that division that are still trying to solidify their name. Mm-hmm. The Happy Warrior is one of those ones where, you know, like, oh, she can be a stepping stone or she can be a door block. Like this is either I got to get past her to get to the upper echelon, or if I don't, you know, I'm stuck down here in the 20s, in the 25 range. Absolutely. So it's going to be, and I'm a huge fan of the Happy Warrior. I know she gets a lot of flack from the way she looks and the way she, you know, holds herself and stuff, but I love it, man. I think it just proves that anybody can do anything you want. And I'm glad that the Happy Warrior is going out on a number, not necessarily when Father Time decides it for her. Yep. I like when fighters make the decision themselves. And
they say we shouldn't concern ourselves with things that are outside of our control. Fortunately for the Happy Warrior, she decided this is something she can control, and she will call it quits at number 50. So I applaud and I respect it. Shout out to you, Roxanne Modafferi. All right, AJ, that's the news wire. That's the word on the street, brother. And hey, I will just say this. Performance of the night, Chito, Vera. Performance of the night, Alex Pereira. Performance of the night, Bobby Green. And performance of the night, Huggy Bear, Chris Barnett, man. Fight of the night, Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler. Interesting to see that neither of our championship bouts got any performance bonuses on there. But listen, man, the main event probably will in this upcoming fight next week. UFC Vegas 42, Max Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez. We haven't seen Yair Rodriguez fight in like 3 years, it feels like, man. So this should be a banger. Hopefully he will have a lot in the tank to bring out, but we'll talk about that one next time, folks. At the end of the day, Mondays and Fridays, check us out, 8 a.m., 12 p.m., noon, aka, you know what I'm saying, on Mondays and Fridays when the short clips drop. But everything can be found at bloodywaterpodcast.com or at our YouTube page. Type in Free Thinkers Club, type in Bloody Water Podcast. Either one gets you there. Like I said, we're almost at 245, almost at 250 subscribers, man. So just hit that subscribe button. Keep rocking with us. We love doing this week in and week out, and we'll be happy to do it again next time, folks. So AJ, you got any last words for the people, brother?
Man, you said it best, Derick. We'll be doing it day in, day out, every single week. We're here rocking the long episodes, the clips, all the comments, the likes, everything like that helps the algorithm, help boost us up. Send us to your homies, send us to your friends. Get them the betting needs or the betting show they want, they need. It's right there where Derick's pointing, man. That's you right. Gotta subscribe. You know where it is, folks. Help us out. We love it. And we love all of you for the support and everything that's been done for us. Thank you so much, man.
Absolutely. And don't forget, folks, it was a wash this week. It was a tie, so we'll see where we go next week. But hey, man, that belt is still in contention for it. So we still rocking with it. We got a goal. We got something we aiming for. Until next time, folks. Peace.